Well, greetings, Business by Nature people. This is our live show, and this evening I have a very special guest with me who I'll introduce to you in just a moment. This is our weekly show where I talk to various experts and specialists in their fields, as well as members within this group, to share their wisdom on living by nature, as well as doing business in a more natural, simpler way. So, welcome to the show. I'm Natalie Kent from Sacred Business, and before we get going, I want to say we're in the final week of Cancer, the cycle of Cancer, which is all about foundation. Foundation meaning how do we create a sense of stability and home and security in our lives and in our work. And so this is very much about connecting with our intuition. It's a watery month, hence having Danielle on the show today, which we're going to be talking about how to live cyclically, which is her specialty. And the month of Cancer is also the month we've been celebrating the Sacred Business Birthday competition. Some of you may have seen it. It's called If Mother Nature Could Talk. And the challenge is to do a short 2-minute video of what Mother Nature says to you when you listen. You pause and listen in your favourite place in nature. What does she say to you? So I'm going to be extending this competition because a few people have contacted me saying, oh my God, I can't do it this week. I'd really love to enter. So I'm just going to pause and breathe and expand that deadline from this evening. So there won't be any winners announced as planned. But I'll be announcing the winner from Alice Springs, where I'm flying tomorrow, which is the centre of Australia. So my background will look very different. It will be red sand instead. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Danielle.
Hello from, yes, a very dry UK. I'm currently in a dog park, so if you did hear lots of barking, that's what's going on. And there might be a few furry friends coming to say hello as well. But,
well, lucky you're outside. So
I know.
That's the place to be. In summer, lucky you again. So I'm actually not going to introduce you because I want you to say in your words how you would introduce yourself, because you have a very interesting specialty in your work that I'd love people to understand in your words.
Okay. I have been working in women's health, but also working with men as well, very much in the realm of menstrual health and supporting fertility. I've trained in the Arvigo techniques with the amazing Dr. Rosita Arvigo, and have been doing lots of additional sort of modalities just to really support that work as well. Have struggled for many, many years with a lot of abdominal health issues myself, so I've been using various modalities, clinical, medical, non-medical, to support the sort of the healing and health of those spaces and places. The other things that I've been doing is very much gathering a lot of self-care tools, and one that I have been working with really closely with probably for about a decade now is working with the seasons of my cycle. Started doing that for myself, and just getting such beautiful ongoing results. Have been introducing that to clients, and also been running a few retreats and workshops where I've been sort of teaching women how to connect into those shifting, changing energies within their own cycle, with help from the lovely Mama Moon and Mama Nature, and really just helping women to understand just the sort of the shifting, changing needs of their physical, mental, emotional states as they sort of shift and change through going through menstruation, going through the time between that and ovulation, and then coming out the other side. So there are sort of 4 key phases to that, yeah, that's really a huge part of the work these days, and now a new part of my business too. So as well as offering one-on-one sessions to help with individuals, now sort of putting some tools out there as well, which will hopefully be available end of the year or beginning of next.
That's very exciting.
I'll keep you posted on all that.
So, Living the Lunar Life is the name of your business as well.
Yes, it is.
Tell us about that.
So when you are living a lunar life, you are beginning to recognize, sort of how linear most of us tend to function and run, how cognitive we are, and how, we are given sort of 2 weeks or half of our cycle to very much operate in that mode, but also super important to allow ourselves 2 weeks to move into a more sort of cyclical, intuitive way of living as well, and very much sort of channels the sort of more lunar aspects, that sort of more watery element, that more feminine aspect to ourselves, and then you fall back into the very sort of more doing aspects, so the more the sun, the more solar plexus kind of energy. So it's not shutting down that sort of linear side to us. It's just recognizing that there is a time to just park that a little bit or retreat from it and really engage in just the beauty and magic that is found in that sort of intuitive, more lunar cyclical space. Men have it too. So a lot of men sort of question, how is this relevant to me? It's relevant to all of us on this planet. We all live very, very cyclically, and we're given 24 hours a day to experience those 4 different kind of phases as well, through our sort of early waking hours, through to lunchtime, to the sort of twilight hours, to complete rest. So that pretty much is your menstrual cycle.
Well, that's a good kind of yardstick for all of us, isn't it? Men, women who aren't menstruating as well, who aren't necessarily having their own personal cycle. But as you mentioned to me before, for those people, men and non-menstruating women, it's really up to the moon, following the moon cycle to show us those 4 phases. So I want to tap into your amazing knowledge about these 4 phases, which apply to menstruation. They apply to the moon cycle, all daily cycles, every cycle on Earth follows this same pattern. And so when we tap into this pattern, not only are we preserving our energy and taking care of ourselves, because I know you're very big on self-care, but also we're being more efficient with our energy. So when it's time to be switched on and in doing mode, we're doing that, and when it's not, we're conserving our energy and going inward, so that when we're back in doing phase again, we have actually processed the previous cycle and perhaps sustained our resources in a different way and have more clarity about the action we're taking. So that's my take on it, but I know that you have so much more to offer. So what would you say to people who are like, well, what are the 4 phases of cycles that we should follow?
So the 4 phases, when I'm looking at it from a sort of a menstrual cycle phase and kind of marrying it up and twinning it up to other cycles and ways of following, nature's cues. I'm kind of tying in the so if we've got for example, when we're menstruating, we're very much in the winter phase of our cycle, which is very much twinning with the dark moon. So I'm not too sure how much you sort of chat about the sort of moon phases, Natalie, with probably
not so much the dark moon. Well, as in the new moon, you mean?
So the dark moon will just literally is just the little kind of sort of time when the moon is just really sort of withdrawn, getting herself together. And then you begin to sort of see her re-emerge again. So the sort of the dark moon phase of the cycle is very much the menstrual phase. It's when you're really pulled back from the world. You're kind of sitting in a very sort of quiet, still space. Not a lot of people around you to distract you. And it's a tricky time for a lot of people who have got very, very busy lives to do that. So, whether you have 5 minutes, whether you have 5 hours, whether you have 5 days to do something like that, just finding that time when you can just completely switch off from the world. And people can do that through, a lot of my clients go and lock themselves in the bathroom. They'll go and sort of have a bath or, do a steam, just anything where they can just close the door. I've got sort of kids outside as well. So just finding what that looks like for you, and whatever time frame you can put around it, to really sort of tap into some really, really important parts of yourself that often kind of get ignored in other phases, just because the busyness of life on the outside takes over again. So, if people are getting a little bit stuck on what that looks like, I also just have people just remind themselves, what do human beings do during winter? I'm looking at you guys over in the Southern Hemisphere at the moment, and you're spending a little bit more time indoors, kind of probably less social, just sort of catching up on stuff, slowing down, resting a little bit more, doing more sort of internal stuff, as opposed to being out and about. And then you begin to just feel the energies shift and change again, and that's when you're kind of really checking in with, I guess, that new moon phase. So you're sort of stepping out, re-emerging again, not quite fully there, just slowly building that presence again in the outside world. So again, if we're not menstruating or on a menstrual cycle, we can always kind of follow that kind of cue from the moon as well. And that's very much... Yes.
So just to pause you there to clarify, you're aligning the new moon phase with winter as a season?
No, the new moon is pretty much the spring phase. So the dark moon phase, when you can't see the moon, that's pretty much your kind of phase where you are kind of hidden from the world as well. So this is when you're kind of replenishing yourself, and sort of gathering up your energies again to then re-emerge when you begin to see the new moon. You begin to see that moon that's
spring,
waxing once more. That's your spring phase. So you're now coming out of your sort of your post-menses, if you like, and your pre-ovulation. So you've got this lovely little week where you kind of have that sort of energy restore, the cognitive stuff begins to kick in again.
Yep.
You're just sort of beginning to look at just the newness of things. You're maybe doing a bit of sort of life garden pruning, just looking at things that are working for you, looking at things that are really kind of just sort of a bit weedy and you're pulling out. You're looking at planting new seeds. So it's very much that kind of spring, light, bright energy. You may feel like you want to just engage a little bit more with others, not too much. So it might be more sort of one-on-one stuff, or you might just, just feel like a bit of a exploration into just new projects, new ideas. It's a brilliant time to, just do a bit of research around things. And then you'll get to that sort of shift again. You'll just feel the sort of little cues internally of the body adjusting itself now to begin ovulation. So this is the kind of your summer phase of your cycle. So again, if we're looking for cues or inspiration, always look into nature or look into ourselves in that particular time of the year when we're, summer, we're out sort of seeing friends with barbecues, we're encouraged to be social. Even our sort of outward appearance when we're in our menstrual cycle, we're a lot more sort of voluptuous, our hair's thicker, our skin looks great. It's sort of the procreating phase, so we look good, we feel good. And then again, we are looking at the moon as well. She's full, she's bright, she's on show. She's like, look at me. You can't ignore her. She's there. Her presence is absolutely magnificent. So again, if we are someone who tends to be quite a quiet person or is quite cognitive, it's a really important reminder to just find those little things that allow you to glow, to radiate that sort of beauty. And everyone has their own way of doing it. Some people like to do it in a big fantastical way. Others are just, gently finding their own way. So there's no sort of set template on how that should look or feel for someone. But, if you are someone who's a little bit more quiet, this is your time just to play with that little part of you that wants to sort of engage a little bit more with others, because you're supported internally to do that. And again, if, someone in time with the moon and they'll sort of be ovulating on a full moon, it's not important. It's a big question I get asked a lot. It's like, oh my gosh, am I going horribly wrong because, I'm not, in tune with the moon? It doesn't matter. Being in tune with yourself is far more important, and it's lovely when that sort of dance sort of tallies up with the moon, but it shouldn't be a focus or an objective to do that.
Everyone's different.
Everybody's different. And then you'll probably get very tired of being all summery and just probably exhaust yourself, and you'll just feel like just retreating again. And I was sort of, even in the summer here, you get pretty exhausted around about sort of 7 if you've been out in the sort of sunlight all day. You just think, I just want to pare back. I just want to sit quietly somewhere with a couple of friends or family or partner. This is kind of your autumnal phase. It's just letting go of the day, processing, just, talking about plans you've got going on for tomorrow. So it's just that sort of paring back, retreating. And it's also a very tricky time for a lot of women in particular. It's the hormonal phase that can have us just, catastrophize life. Everything's horrendous. We're the worst piece of thing ever. And it can be a terrible time. So it's a good time to just turn that sort of inner critic, the judgmental side of ourselves onto things that can handle it, like a pile of washing or a cupboard that needs reorganizing, or
nesting.
Just not.
Isn't that the time when we nest?
Yes. So try to avoid just shouting and screaming at your nearest and dearest, and just sort of channel that kind of need to criticize and organize and have control and into things that nesting, sorting through the kitchen cupboards, taking it out on those sorts of things that can handle it, and then you find yourself, it's time just to rest again, and if we're not kind of acknowledging that and exploring that for ourselves, we exhaust ourselves. And normally that's when I get a lot of clients showing up on the doorstep with a lot of menstrual health issues, because they just push through. They're either in summer mode the entire cycle, or they're in spring mode the entire cycle, or they're in pain, so they're in their autumnal phase. And so that's normally where I start. I look at, their life as a great big picture, and just see how cyclically they are living, and most of them aren't. It's very linear. And I'm like, how's that working out for you?
Yeah. The body is screaming, going, hang on, I don't function like this.
So I'd say probably the most, sort of commented thing is that we're not asking people to do anything different. We're just asking them to reconfigure, change up a lot of what they're doing, and popping it into those different phases where it kind of aligns best. So, if you're going full out doing, 10K runs every day, just as you come out of your period in your spring, summer, that's a brilliant time to be doing those sort of things. But don't do it all the way through, because, change it up. By all means, still move your body, but find different ways of moving it, and just see how your potential symptoms or health issues begin to shift and change as you kind of acknowledge that a little bit more. So that's the sort of two, sort of strings to my bow, is just working in that way with supporting people individually with health issues, but also having to explore living a more lunar life that brings them into more balance with nature, and the day-night yin-yang, all that sort of stuff, which is really, really important.
So just to recap, we've got let's start with spring, which is after the new moon, and that is is that a post-bleed in terms of menstruation?
Yes, so that'll be literally your kind of complete menstruation, and you'll begin to just feel, there's a lot of women can even feel that in the last couple of days of their cycle. They just feel their energies returning, because that heaviness that they've been carrying around within the womb has really reduced significantly, and that causes us to feel very tired. So as that begins to lessen, you can feel the energies restoring. But it's always that same kind of rule. I always remember my mum, when we were sort of poorly or sick, and we take a day off school, she'd always give us another day to recover, even though we sort of, not that we wake up going, yes, I want to go to school. It was like we felt better, but she always sort of looked at how that worked when she'd pop us back in school, and immediately we'd have a week off because we'd be so poorly. Because it's just, acknowledging where if you are following those different phases, you're like, God, I have actually got another couple of days where I am in my winter phase. I'm not going to try and jump ahead now and do too much. I'm just going to just slowly acknowledge that. And again, that can be a bit of a downfall for clients as well, as they kind of get a little bit excited and they begin spring far too quickly, and they burn out really quickly as well, and symptoms begin to creep back in again.
Wow. Okay, I've got more questions about that, but just to finish what I was saying, so new moon, spring, after post-new moon, post-menstruation, spring, then we move into summer, which is the build-up to the full moon. Yes?
That's exactly it. Yeah.
After that, we go into autumn, then winter, which is the wind down after the full moon.
Yes, that's the waning moon.
Yep. Full moon meaning ovulation, and back again.
Exactly.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So now I want to know, what advice do you give men and women who really struggle to, this is my personal experience and also observing others, is the most challenging time is the let go at the end of the cycle.
Yeah.
And so what advice do you give people to help with that transition, whether it's, an ending of any sort, your menstrual cycle or ending of a business or ending of a relationship, whatever, that's a big deal, and we kind of overlook the significance of that, I think. What do you say to those people? And that includes me.
So you're saying just bringing closure to something, just
like
acknowledging
the letting go phase, where you're in transition from the end of the cycle and the new one's starting. And the tendency is to just push past, keep going, not pause, not take stock of what's happened in the previous cycle or refocus for the cycle to come. Just keep going.
Yeah. I think it's such a beautiful reminder that everything is cyclical. Even what you're going to be moving into will have an end, will have a natural end. So I think it's just getting very in tune with the cyclical way of living, that it too will have its time, but I think what I said to you just before our call, one of the things that I tend to work with, which kind of diminishes, I guess, any sadness around the closure of something, is also just looking forward at the sort of the excitement and the joy of what's next. To also realize that there is so much wisdom that has been gained within that cycle, whether it was a short cycle, whether it was a long cycle, whether it was a big business venture, whether it was a long menstrual life, and moving into the sort of the golden years, that there is so much wisdom that we carry within that cycle that has just passed, that it's so lovely to then be able to share that with others, whether they're the little people in our life, whether they're our friends, all that sort of stuff. It's such a gift. I think these gifts just keep getting more and more golden as we sort of move further into another cycle. And for me, if I am finding those transition phases really tricky, I kind of have to sort of, and even with clients as well, just pull myself out of my life and just look down and just sort of again become in awe of just how incredible those cycles are, and to be able to sort of see again where I can fit in that sort of cog and continue just to sort of move within the sort of the grander scheme of things as well, and that if I stay in that cycle, it literally will become a downward spiral. So I think that's the other thing. It's like there is a very natural closure to things. Yep. And if we stay in it for too long, we begin to feel that as a downward spiral, and we don't want the downward spiral. We want to just keep having this momentum of moving upwards. So again, that's another way that I kind of work with that phase of letting go, is that it's time. There is a natural timing and an order to things, and that if I do hold on, I'll get dragged. And it's graceful to just see that there is the time to move on and to let go, and to be able to then gather the wisdom and dispense that in any way you see fit. And that has been very calming for me and for many other people that I work with in closing chapters and opening up new ones, or even a whole new book. It's a gift. There's such a gift in letting go, in the wisdom that is gifted to us in return.
Oh, so well said. I wish I could listen to that in a recording in my head, not just like every month, but every week. With the wisdom that's gained from the past cycle, and actually pausing to acknowledge that before moving on. And I guess, you can see menstruation or the cycle of the moon as like mini rites of passage, which prepare us for the big rites of passage, like you mentioned, menopause, moving into the golden years. Like that's a big letting go. So all that preparation of little let goes throughout life can really help us when the big stuff comes, right? Yeah, absolutely. And if we are practicing or acknowledging even just the cyclical nature of everything on this planet that, we tend to engage with, the transition phases become a lot more graceful than not. I think it's such an important thing to, so I just have a little canine friend who's, no. Oh, that's okay. Yeah, no, it's good. So yes, that's really, really helpful to work with as well. The perils of shooting a live video in the park. Yeah, anything can happen.
Bugs running around.
So what I also want to just touch on or ask you is, talking about the people that you see in your clinics who come and struggle with the let go part, men and women, and I'm sure you can see the signs straight away if they're just pushing through and staying in the linear path the whole way, and not acknowledging those endings. What are some of the symptoms or the things that you see going on in their lives generally of that way of being?
I think it's just the continued toxicity that they are attracting in. So a lot of them have come to me and they have kind of sorted out their diet. So they say, I'm eating really well. And we tend to then look more at, I guess, the other levels of toxicity in their lives. So toxic thoughts, toxic behaviors, toxic people, toxic situations. And even if they're not active in them anymore, some are, there is still that residue of that time. So even in our mind, we may go, and it wasn't the right time, trying to move on, it's all good. And we kind of plow on in a very cognitive, linear way. That internal space still very much operates on that energy, that vibe, if we haven't gone through a process of just letting go and allowing those spaces to also heal and sort of repair and strengthen again. So a huge focus for me as an abdominal therapist is really getting back to the health and happiness of the organs involved in reproduction and in digestion, and reminding their owners, if you like, of that level of health and happiness and how they can restore that level of health and happiness. So yes, that can be done through diet and exercise, but it also can be really championing the energy of those organs. So for us women, it's the uterus, it's the ovaries. They're playful ladies. They love to go out and they love to play. They love to engage in creativity. Some of us may express that in the form of, creating a new life. Others may do that through creative pursuits, creative ideas. She really doesn't care. As long as she has a creative outlet, she's super happy. So if there is blocks in people's lives to being creative, I really encourage people to explore that. So, even remind my clients, you have created time in your day to come and see me. You're already creating.
There you go.
So they look at me like, no, I'm not creative, I can't create. I'm like, you've just created time. And they're like, oh. So that tells me you're very, very capable of creating. We'll just sort of explore that sense of creativity in other aspects too. So a lot of people are scared of creativity. They can kind of have this luxurious component to it. It's like, oh gosh, I haven't got time to create. I'm too busy, with this, that and the other. But, our bodies are screaming out for that sort of outlet, because it often makes us laugh. It's fun.
Yeah.
And, one of the big questions that actually causes tears is, I ask clients, when was the last time you actually had a jolly good belly laugh? And they're literally, the eyes, they're just sort of looking up and like, oh my gosh, I actually can't remember. But you look at any child, they're often sort of, in tears, laughing, and it's the same release. So, even through tears, our shoulders go, our sort of tears trickle down. It's the same. The body doesn't really care whether it's through laughter or through just sort of sadness. It's a nice form of release, but it'd be lovely if we could do more laughter as that form of release rather than in other ways. So,
yes, well said. I'm glad you brought up creativity. So important for letting go and releasing energy from the body.
Yeah.
Leonie and Priscilla's joined us too. So Leanne has said, I'd agree with the concept of learning to let go as preparation for menopause. I see that play out with my clients all the time. There you go.
Yeah.
So menopause isn't something, and big endings like that and beginnings. It's something that we actually have to prepare for. It's not something we just expect to rock up and go, yeah, I'll be fine with it. It's actually, all rituals and ceremonies are created for this purpose of acknowledging what has been and what's to come. Hey.
Yeah.
Yes. So I want to. Sorry. You finished that.
I was just going to say, just on the sort of the idea of rituals, depending, I guess, on our cultures. If it isn't within our culture, I still find it super fascinating to research and just observe other cultures, how they manage that process, especially working with the Alvigo techniques, where we're working with the Mayan culture, and just seeing how revered within that culture women are when they hit that sort of golden age. They are considered, the wise women of the tribe. There's none of this kind of like, once you hit 45 or 50, you're redundant. This is when women are really stepping into their power. I think I had a friend who described any woman, I think under the age of 45 or something like that, she called us baby women. She said, we're still trying to figure it out. She said, it's not until you hit your sort of mid-late 40s that you really grow into being a woman. All the rest is just play. And which I find quite a fascinating take. But I was like, oh, that's absolutely true. And you get sort of 20-year-old women dispensing sort of life advice and things. She's like, they're baby women. They're still learning and growing and exploring all those aspects. So it becomes quite exciting. And I know a lot of my mentors now, women that I get very inspired by, are women who are now in their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. I love it. I love witnessing and observing how they operate in life. And it's lovely just to have those kind of benchmarks and thinking, gosh, I really hope that I'm kind of operating like that when I'm 70 or when I'm 80. So I look way down the track. I don't look back anymore because that's not going to be me. So I look forward at some incredible women and men who are just, managing and moving through life just beautifully. So that is also a huge help when you're look at people who are already there, and just sort of, gathering that little tribe as well ahead of you, which is really, really important.
Well said. And I'm glad that you have those elders in your life. We all need them. And as they say, you don't know yourself till 50, so I'm looking forward to that. I have a few friends.
A long way to go.
I have lots of friends over 50, and I watch them and I'm like, wow, you got it. So it's really cool to have that in your life.
Yeah. But to look back as well and just think, gosh, if you've got younger, thinking you are, might sound strange, you are their elder. And even if we do feel we're not, we are. I've got very little women in my life, and they're sort of, in their early teens, and I feel very responsible for how I behave and what I share with them, because that's super important. So I see myself as their elder, because you are. We say the elder sister. She's always the one that's got all the advice and the wisdom.
Yeah.
And she can be 10. So yeah.
And this raises the question of the 4 cycles of life, of a whole life. Yeah. And in those final years where everything, the fruit on the tree really starts to ripen, and
exactly
all that you've invested in, good and bad, in your life comes to fruition. Yep.
Exactly. Yeah. You don't want to be that rotten piece of fruit on the floor, that's for sure.
Yep, that's what I reckon. Priscilla's saying, yep, I'm super interested in other cultures regarding moving into menopause. Would love to find out so much more. Thanks for the inspiration to do some research. Great.
Ooh, love to hear what you find out. Beautiful stuff.
Cool. And Fiona's saying, yep, you look like you're about to laugh. Fiona's a comedian, so there you go. She's onto it. She's looking for it.
So yep. Yeah, comedy. Oh my gosh, can't recommend that enough. Put on a hilarious whatever film, go see someone like you.
Yep. Yep. Mm-hmm. My foray into comedy. That was very funny for many reasons. Leonie's saying it's really awesome to be over 50 and postmenopausal. Well, that's bloody awesome, Leonie, because you're one of my role models.
Yes,
if you're enjoying,
wonderful elder.
Yeah, if you're enjoying postmenopause, then
let us know.
We applaud you, because you should be enjoying it, and so should people in their 60s, 70s, being, sharing their golden wisdom.
Yes,
Leonie says absolutely no rotten fruit wanted. Correct, but let's be realistic. There's always some rotten fruit at the end of life. Some shadows we've ignored.
Yeah.
Some skeletons in the closet, but that's normal. That's what that phase is all about.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. So I want to ask you, is there any pearl of wisdom you would like to leave the people watching from my audience within Business by Nature, as well as yours, your clients who are scattered all over the world?
Yes.
What do you want to say? You've got the platform.
Well, I would say just the fact that you've even acknowledged that, everyone is scattered all over the world in different hemispheres, different time zones, different climates, different seasons, is to just really spend, a few moments just really observing where those cycles are for you. So, if you are in the Southern Hemisphere, you're in winter. And where, if you are in your menstrual years, where are you in your cycle? And just sort of acknowledging those either really sort of cosmic kind of things or those very sort of microscopic things that can go on. But with that knowledge of knowing where you are on the planet, but also where you are in your cycle, is super, super helpful, because a lot of people just have got straight back into the linear thinking kind of way of sort of progressing through their days, just to take stock, just go, gosh, or if we're in the Southern Hemisphere, it's, I'm already beginning to notice that the nights are getting a little bit shorter, even though it feels very much like summer, and I'm just seeing just the leaves are beginning to just turn again, and it's just such a gentle, quiet, beautiful reminder of that constant transition, the chance for sort of for growth, for complete abundance, to just sort of really sort of retreating again, to restock, replenish and rest, and then just move around again. I just love watching nature do all those incredible things as well on such a huge scale, and to know that that's going on within me as well is absolutely amazing. And just support it and honour it as much as I possibly can. And if I get lost, just to look out into my sort of local spaces, but also into the great skies above.
Yes.
But, yes, very humbling, very, very humbling when we get caught up in all our stories and all the sort of day-to-day nitty-gritty stuff. It can put us right off track. So it's nice just to put ourselves back onto the path again.
Well, I must say you embody that humility beautifully, Danielle.
Thank you.
Always noticed that about you, and so I'm going to sum it up for the people, because that was a brilliant pearl of wisdom. First of all, where are you in the world, and what season are you in? There's not only 4 seasons, some places have 2 seasons, 6 seasons, whatever. Where are you? What's going on outside? Then look at the moon. Where's the moon at? And then thirdly, if you are menstruating, what's your body doing? Mm-hmm. So,
yep.
Yeah, brilliant advice. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
And for those of you who are intrigued by this beautiful woman, Danielle, who's kind of, she's quite magical in her craft. She offers private client sessions in Australia and the UK, Sydney and Melbourne, and sometimes Brisbane. And she'll be back in October in Australia, but you're currently seeing clients in the UK.
Yes.
And you also ran a retreat in Morocco recently, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
That's exotic.
I did. That was, with a very dear friend of mine, with a bunch of beautiful 22 women, probably all in their sort of 45 plus age group, and it was just incredible just watching them sort of transform a little bit, and recognizing how linear, how structured their lives had become, and just sort of finding themselves again, and a lot of them backpedaling when they were having to sort of get on planes and go back to their lives, just really sort of reconnecting with themselves to a point where they're like, oh gosh, how does this actually work in my day to day? So just giving them some tools on how to sort of transit from where they were with us to where they were going back to. So yeah, that was beautiful. We will be doing more of those, and again on my little mail out that I send out every new moon.
Yes.
That you guys will be the girls will be the first to know about those as they get locked in over the coming months and years.
Well, that's a good reminder. DanielleRickwood.com is where you can sign up for her newsletter, which I just did myself, to stay in the loop, because she's got some really exciting products coming. I'm not going to say anything more. But, yes, living the lunar life. Thank you so much. You are a gem, a pearl of wisdom in yourself.
Thank you. Ditto, my friend, ditto.
Yeah.
Amazing work. Long may it continue.
Thank you. Enjoy your summery
Pleasure.
day. Bye.
Yes.
Well,
bye, love.
Thanks
Bye.
to everyone who joined us. Bye.
Yes, thank you. Bye.